with the global space, you've heard a little bit about this on the program. The U.S. Fed FOMC decision, then you had the ECB in the week, you had the Bank of Japan. Today is the Bank of England. And let's look at how the markets there in the UK preparing for this decision and the announcement we expect later today. Let's talk to Simon Pusey, one of our team in London at our studios there. Simon, this is a big day on this monetary side for the Bank of England. What's the outlook?
Yeah, hi, Bosun. You're right. It is a big day today in London. The FTSE 100 index has jumped by 30 points, or 0.4%, with European indices also rallying. It's ahead of that announcement that you mentioned from the Bank of England, which most people think will plough on alone among major central banks by sticking with its message that it plans to raise interest rates, just as trade wars and a global slowdown have forced others to turn a little more cautious. The Bank of England is expected to repeat its intention of raising borrowing costs, Brexit permitting, of course, in a week in which European Central Bank President Mario Draghi broached another round of stimulus and the US Federal Reserve signaled it could cut interest rates later this year. Economists think there will be a unanimous vote to hold rates at 0.75%, despite two officials talking recently of the need for higher borrowing costs sooner rather than later. Looking at Britain in isolation, there are reasons why borrowing costs might need to rise before not too long, assuming that whoever succeeds Prime Minister Theresa May can avoid a no-deal Brexit. The US Federal Reserve on Wednesday, of course, opened the door to a rate cut in 2019, noting that it had to act as appropriate to sustain economic growth. And that followed suggestions on Monday by European Central Bank Chief Mario Draghi that his bank could expand its stimulus program. In practice, the announcements today from the Bank of England might be a little bit bland in comparison with what has been produced by the US and the Eurozone. Mark Carney and his colleagues, their hands are still kind of tied by Brexit and what they can do. Also today, some news that shoppers bought 0.5% less stuff in May than in April. The Office for National Statistics sent that report with the amount spent dropping by 0.3%. Clothing sales were particularly badly hit. They slumped by 4.5% month on month. That's the 9th monthly decline in a row. The Bank of England, though, is due to announce its June policy decision in the next few minutes, and we'll have all the latest on that in our update later this afternoon.
Yes, yes, Simon. But again, the Brexit will be a major decision, considerations for the Bank of England. Do you think their decisions will be encouraged or otherwise by the recent economic data in terms of inflation, in terms of the growth in April and the outlook for second quarter, which was said to be going to be stagnant?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they will be slightly encouraged by that data. And we've actually got news today that the pound is up very slightly today. And that's after months and months of the pound dropping, of course. For some reason, the pound seems to be holding fairly strong today. And that's also despite the decision that it looks like Boris Johnson is odds-on favourite to win the next round of voting for that next Prime Minister, which happens later today, where 4 candidates become 2, and he's still way ahead. So despite that and the fears of a no-deal Brexit, the pound seems to be doing all right. And you talk about those inflation figures. I think generally things are not looking too bad given the political uncertainty in the country. The figures surrounding the inflation, the pound holding steady, and the markets down very slightly today. But in spite of all this uncertainty and the trade war going on between China and the US, I think analysts and markets and investors and traders here aren't too worried with how things are going, and that's in spite of those things that I just mentioned.
I keep an eye on the BOE around the bank there and all of that, and let us bring us up to speed when the decisions are taken at by 1:30. We'll check in with you again on our afternoon business show. Thank you so much. Have a great day from our London studio, Simon Pusey. The Nigeria debt market is very hot as we speak. If you just show the numbers very quickly, via the FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange yesterday, more than 200 billion naira worth of treasuries were traded in 300 transactions. So this is all more around the short-dated instruments. That's what you see there. September this year, 2 papers among the top 4 most actively traded, and you find those maturing early next year, and into about a half year, around 12.4% in terms of the discount high. So let's talk to Chukwuma Igboche, who's an FX dealer at FSDH Merchant Bank, to give us the FX play in this very big transaction, liquidity movement around the treasuries market. Chukwuma, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Boston. Good morning. Pleasure to have you on the show.
This is big. Your debt market is roaring very hot right now. Where is this interest coming from? Is there anything in the horizon? Anything I don't know?
In the treasury bills, from the secondary market of the treasury bills yesterday, we had quite a bullish run. Much of it was centered around the mid to the long end of the curve. We saw yields compressed by about 9 basis points. So this transcended into the primary auction market when the results came out yesterday. For the 91 day, we saw rates close at 9.6. The 182 days closed at 10.82 and 10.89%, yes, and the 1 year closed at 12.02%. Now we could see that demand was skewed towards the long end of the curve, with over 117 billion, I think, on demand seen at that end.
Okay, so do you think what's left for the rest of the week with what is maturing today, Thursday, not such a very big amount? So yeah. Do you think the central bank, do you think the regulator will leave this money in your markets and just allow you guys to just ride on with that and end the week without any PMA between today and tomorrow?
Like you said, we don't have so much maturing today and the OMO part, just about 89 billion. I don't really see that, having any significant impact in the market today. What I feel would happen is the on-field demand, which we saw at the primary auction, we'll see that filter into the secondary market today. For the bonds part, we have the auction coming up next week. We've had quite a calm market so far. So I think every market player is just gearing up or getting ready for what's going to happen next week. We have, as I think before yesterday, we saw the DMO release a circular saying they're offering 100 billion. Across a total of 100 billion across the three maturities. So by next week, we should have a better idea of where we are going on the bonds part.
Okay, thank you so much, Chukwuma Igboche from FSDH Merchant Bank, live to us from FMDQ Exchange Place in downtown Lagos. Thank you very much for coming through. See you very soon. Back to the big story on the street today. Everyone's eyes and ears are peeled into this story. President Buhari making a major appointment since his re-election in February. He's made a few appointments, not in the cabinet, but a few here and there, which are part of the strategic pillars of running the economy. That's with Godwin Emefiele, the central bank governor, now going into the heart of Nigeria's economy, which is oil and gas. The NNPC, Mr. President, according to the group general manager or in charge of public affairs, Ndu Gamadu at the NNPC will have a new group managing director and CEO effective 8th of July 2019, so get about a 3 weeks transition there between the old guards and the new guard. The new man who is coming in, of course, an insider at the NNPC group, general manager, crude oil marketing division of NNPC, will now become the group managing director effective 8th of July. That's Melekolo Kiari. And of course, alongside him, he will have 7 others who will be serving with him, who will also be resuming in their new positions effective 8th of July. Roland Ewubare will be the Chief Operating Officer in charge of upstream. Mustafa Yakubu will be the Chief Operating Officer in charge of refining and petrochemicals. Engineer Yusuf Yusman will be the Chief Operating Officer, gas and power, and the rest you can get in our news, which comes right after this. This is your Business Morning. I'll see you again tomorrow, Friday. And let's talk about other things online and on social media. Have a great day, everyone.